Hello everyone, welcome along to the Betfred football show ahead of week 13 in the Premier League. And it's been one hell of a week with Manchester United finally asking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to let go of the wheel and putting Michael Carrick in charge with a big win over Villarreal in the Champions League. Delighted to say I'm here with Paul Parker, former Manchester United fullback, of course. Paul, welcome along. A lot has happened since last week's show. Of course, the sacking of that man, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who did an interview afterwards, a very gracious one at that. Perhaps a fitting way to go for a very popular man at the club.
Yeah, he certainly was popular. People have their opinions if he was maybe right to do the interview or not, but I think a fair few people looked at it and maybe expected it from him because he loved the club that much, and you could see how emotional he was about it. But the truth is, he knew himself at the time was up, and admitting it yourself takes a lot. And in his own way, I think he knew that it had gone to that point where he had to go just for maybe a change and the best move for the club.
What went wrong for him? Because we did see some signs of progression, didn't we, the last few seasons? Last season finishing second in the Premier League, getting to European final, then some new signings coming in. Everybody thought perhaps they could go on a run and challenge for the title this season, but it has gone spectacularly wrong.
It has. I think everyone's got their own levels of management or anything in life, really, and I think Ole got to his point and he couldn't go that next level. The players he was dealing with, he needed that maybe someone different to take him to that next bit, to maybe to be able to have that discipline side of it, to actually to get them over, to get the respect for them, and just for them, just the organisation bit of it, get a structure. Manchester United didn't really have that in the last few months. You saw that when they needed structure, they didn't have it, and that was what the big problem was, and it just wasn't there. And when you hear some of the stuff that has happened and been going on, you can maybe feel it and just know that the time was right for him to go. Some people say a few weeks too late.
I was going to ask you, surprised by the time, because of course there's a lot of speculation after the Liverpool game, that terrible result, then came the Manchester City game as well, or was it the fact that they'd just given him a new contract and they didn't really have a plan going forward if they were to lose it?
There must have been some in there. There was a reason why they gave him a new contract, and we don't know exactly what was written into that contract regarding if they were going to part ways, so we don't know on that. But I look at it and I say to myself, there must have been something to suggest that they thought he was still in the right person to take the club forward. But I think if you'd asked a lot of people prior to him signing that, they was all worried about what was going to happen. And a lot of people would have foreseen what will happen to Manchester United, and it did happen. And letting it go for so long for me was really wrong. The Liverpool game was the one there they could have taken it, and he would have to hold his hands up because that wasn't good for Manchester United. Against City, just after, that was even worse. So it's happened too late, really.
Ultimately, the responsibility always lies with the manager in these cases. They can't get rid of all their players. They go with the man at the top. But is it all his fault? You mentioned some of the players maybe starting to lose the dressing room. They weren't working very hard, were they, on the pitch? There's a lack of discipline as well. We saw lots of players getting sent off and a few leaks within the dressing room of players who weren't happy not playing.
I think we know leaks are part and parcel of football today. It's the easiest thing in the world to leak now, is it through a friend of a friend who'll go on social media and throw up a suggestion just to add something to it. But I think Ole has been his own worst enemy of being a nice person, and he's allowed sentiment to get involved, and that's affected him. And players is what we do. We jump on the back of it and we try and use it in our own way. And I just think that has cost him with certain players who have used that for their own devices, which has affected the team.
Are you surprised that perhaps none of the backroom staff went with him, because every single one of them is still at the club?
I'm very surprised by that, and really when you look at it, and then when you hear that Michael Carrick and Kieran McKenna were the ones who are actually taking the training and now they're in charge, then you have to ask yourself, is that right? And then would that happen at any other club? Would that happen in any other industry if something was failing? Would that happen? And I think 9 times out of 10 it wouldn't happen. So a lot has got to happen now with what goes on for everyone to go, well, okay, Ole was the problem. But then you ask yourself the question, was Ole not allowing them to do it wanted to do it his way? If he wouldn't change, then fair enough. But I just get that feeling that the whole process of the thing of what's gone on is completely wrong.
Yeah, people, the fans in particular, looking even further above at the club and talking about mismanagement. And Ed Woodward now saying that he may stay on and oversee the new manager coming into the club as well. So there is that element of the fans who are really disappointed that carries on.
Oh, it's massive mismanagement that's gone on at Manchester United for a number of years. And it's been everything that's happened upstairs has affected what's happened in the main part of the football club, what's on that green grass. And then when you hear that Edward Woodward wants to stay, then I think that's another concern, because it's not as if he's made the right decisions prior to everything that's gone on at Manchester United. He hasn't, because it's all blowing up in the club's face, in the supporters' faces. So for him wanting to stay around and expecting everyone to go hallelujah, hallelujah, I don't think it's going to work that way. The better way for him, as what he said before a few months back, that he's going to step away in September. That's what I thought it was September. It was, or the end of the year, one of them. Stick by it and allow the club to move forward in a new way now and see how it goes from there. Ollie has gone now. That side of it, the love affair and the respect with a manager has gone now. Now a new person's going to come in. They're waiting for a full-time manager to come in and then go from there. But what they want to do is see a difference. They want to see money at the right times. If they go and produce, a manager comes in, they want him getting money at the right times and allowed to get who he wants to work. Because as we know in football, managers really don't want people bought for them. They want the players who they believe and know is right. So then if they're going to go down, get shot down, they know they've done it their way.
OK, let's get stuck into the next manager market then. Betting is available for you here at Betfred. There's a lot of talk today. The Telegraph reporting that ex-Borussia Dortmund manager Lucien Favre has been interviewed along with the former Lyon boss Rudy Garcia. We've had talk about Ralf Rangnick in the past as well. Paulo Fonseca also on the shortlist, and former Barcelona boss Valverde, who's been very well backed over the last 24 hours as well. So they do seem adamant if they can't get the main man, which always seems to be Mauricio Pochettino. We saw that a few years ago. There'll be somebody coming in to replace Carrick at least until the end of the season.
I mean, that's all well and good. It's not good because it's Manchester United. This is the path they're going down. But if you're going to go and bring one of those experienced managers in, and they are experienced, if it isn't a number of clubs, it's a number of games they've had in Champions League football. It's trophies what they've gone and won in Europe. They're going to come in and know they've only got a certain amount of time to work. If they're willing to sign for that and say that's it, then how are those people going to get the best from these players? That's the problem. It's about the people you have to work with. And if you know that you've got someone there and you know he's only going to be there for a short while, you will then go and remind yourself how long's on your contract, and then you might just kind of act accordingly and say, well, hold on a minute, me and you, do what you want to do, but I'm here longer than you. So it's to do that in the way the players are today, I think is the wrong way. You're not going to get the best out of every player. There's going to be a few kind of attitude problems towards somebody who's not really their boss. You're not going to call him boss because you know he's only a bit part player.
And talking about player power as well, there have been some rumours that Cristiano Ronaldo wants Luis Enrique to come in charge, and obviously I would imagine he'd still have a bit of power at that club, wouldn't he? Ronaldo in the dressing room. So can you see the players maybe dictating their thoughts as well?
I just see the whole thing now when we wouldn't have done that. I mean, I talk now and I sound like an old fella. In fact, I am. But it doesn't matter when a change of manager. I mean, at QPR, it's for me where I went through 3-4, Jim Smith, I'm trying to think, Peter Streeves, Don Howe, Trevor Francis, finished up with Jerry Francis. But never once did any player go in there and say who they want or who should be manager, because it wasn't our decision. We was respectful. We didn't want to be seen as talking about a manager, because that might have what you're looking for. You're looking for someone you know, so it's going to make your life easy and things like it doesn't work that way. If you've got an opinion, you might talk to your teammate or maybe your best friend out, but you wouldn't go and say it to get out there in the press. But it seems that way, and I think it's wrong. And as a player, you don't make any suggestions like that. So if Ronaldo is going down that way, that doesn't bode well.
OK, well, we move on because we've got Mauricio Pochettino rumoured, of course, in particular. He's the man that I mentioned a few years ago they tried to get to the club, and apparently reports coming out today that an initial approach to PSG was rejected. But he did say he was happy in Paris. The reports suggest he'd be even happier at Manchester United. That's his dream job, Paul.
I'm quite sure he's happy in Paris. You know, it's a great city, it's a great place to be. So he is happy, but that's not actually saying he's happy in his job. And after what I've seen of PSG, I should say, of recent games, and I'm looking what he's having to deal with, he doesn't seem to be enjoying his football. You can see it that he's not enjoying it. You watch the way they play. That's not a Pochettino team. That is a team put together by someone else for him to manage. And I think Thomas Tuchel will say exactly the same. And everyone else who was managing, Emery has been there, what he would say about going there and the conditions you've got to work in. You're not managing. You're just there, and all you are is just someone working inside of a big top with a whip in your hand, which doesn't affect these players. They do what they want to do to a point. And it's not his dream job. He's not been able to manage in the way he wants to manage. He wants players to mould in a certain way, to play in a way that he wants to play. You know, Messi, Mbappe and Neymar, you can't do it, it's impossible. So he's might be happy living in Paris, but he's not happy with his football. Back in the UK, I'd imagine, where he wants to be, where his family are living, and the opportunity to manage Manchester United, to manage them to PSG, I mean, I think everyone knows which is the bigger job.
Would it be a good appointment?
Yeah, I think it would be a great appointment. Because everything about him, for me, suggests Manchester United. His presence, the way he holds himself, and the way his teams play, and the way Tottenham played as a team 2 years at Wembley Stadium, qualifying for the Champions League on both occasions, getting to a final and losing it to a poor refereeing decision. You know, that because it started off badly for him, didn't get the opportunity to go again. And then the individual players he has produced who have stepped forward, the players who have gone on to represent their country that have played for him as well. I think he's got something there which a lot of the other managers haven't got. People will come out and say he hasn't won anything. There's only so many trophies that can be won at certain clubs. If you're at a certain club, you might have the luck of winning an FA Cup, as we've seen with certain managers. Because if Manchester United, if it's about getting a manager who has won something, go and get Harry Redknapp. He's won something. Poch hasn't, but I think I know who everyone would want as a manager. Because managers have to manage a team, and it's about what they produce, and then all of a sudden, once they get that together, which you've got a better chance than most at Manchester United, that's when you can go on and win things.
Does that lack of trophies, though, play into the dressing room a little bit? I mean, will they respect him, buy into his methods, play for him? Because we saw towards the end of this time at Tottenham, there was some rumours of him losing a dressing room there. And you mentioned the likes of Mbappe, Neymar at PSG, perhaps not giving their all in terms of the work that Pochettino would like them to do as well. So is that a worry? Well,
I don't think Mbappe and Neymar were doing it for the previous managers anyway, to be perfectly honest. It's the way they are, it's the way they're set up. is that way until Mbappe leaves and maybe goes to another club, then he might just learn a different habit in life, how to be a little bit more respectful. But I don't think of Pochettino. I don't think players will go, oh, he hasn't won anything. Because, I mean, there's a lot of players who walk into dressing rooms, the likes of Manchester United, and haven't won anything. They've gone to Manchester United to win things, and they'll learn that from being around the club, what the club's all about. When they step into that dressing room, there'll be players who know, a few of this time around from when I went there, but there's players in there who have won things at Manchester United, so they will put them into a good place, a better place, I should say. And the manager, it's about how his first chat with them, his first team talk, that is when you actually make it or don't make it as a manager.
OK, well, it looks like talks are stalled for now anyway, and that Michael Carrick will stay in charge for the big game at the weekend against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. You play for both clubs, so the perfect man to have in the studio here. We make Chelsea the clear favourites, and I think you'd have to go along with that, wouldn't you? They're unbeaten in 10 now. Only that late equaliser from Burnley, the blemish in that run. But the top of the Premier League, beat Juve in midweek, top of the Champions League group, going through to the knockout stages. In the League Cup quarter-finals, they do seem like an unstoppable machine at the moment.
They are. They do look like that. In fact, they look a better unit without Lukaku in now. There's more team ethic. The goals they're scoring, the movement they are getting, the opportunities they are making as well. And it just doesn't happen with Lukaku out there. So, and the fact of if they were looking to rush him back and play him in this game, then that could go against them. To have a static centre forward in a team that's free flowing without him, and we saw that midweek. We've seen them over their recent games, the way they've played without a so-called centre forward, and they've played really well. Defensively, they're very strong. Midfield, they're just as strong, and even without Lukaku, they're strong as well. For Manchester United to get anything out of this game would be absolutely incredible. It could be back to the wall, but I don't want to see United personally getting something just by going back to the wall. That's not Manchester United. Manchester United go to Chelsea and try and win now. That's what they go and do. 2 years ago, I saw them play there in the League Cup, and I think it was when Rashford scored that free kick, and they really took the game to Chelsea then. So that's what I'd rather see. I don't think I'm going to see that, because Chelsea, at this moment in time, we have to say over these last few weeks, are the best team in the country.
Yeah, it's going to be a big gulf in confidence and also experience in the dugout as well, isn't it? Tuchel against Carrick. I mean, Tuchel's just got his 50th game for Chelsea. It's 31 wins, 32 clean sheets, just 24 goals conceded. That's a record for a manager in charge of a British club. And there's just so much depth, isn't there? The academy players in midweek coming on and scoring. As a fullback yourself, Chilwell and James ripping it up every week as well. James in particular, 5 goals, 5 assists in the Premier League. It's been something to see.
I'm a big fan of Reece James, and I'm not bothered about his assist. I'm more concerned about the way he defends. He goes forward, but he defends as well, and that's how you judge him on. That's how you judge any player wears a defensive number. They don't nowadays, do they? They wear all kinds of numbers. But for me, it's between him and Kyle Walker, who is the best right back in the country. Chilwell seems to get going and gets injured or gets dropped for Alonso, but seems like he's got maybe an ACL now they're talking about, so he could be out for a while. But Reece James, the goals he scores, centre forwards will be proud of him. His all-round game is absolutely incredible. If Kyle Walker scored goals as what Reece James does, then it would make it almost 50-50, but I'm just leaning more towards Reece James just because of his age, the goals he scores, but the way he defends as well.
OK, I'll get your result very shortly, but just a positive note for Manchester United. They've only lost 1 of the last 9 against Chelsea. That was in the FA Cup semi-finals last year. But we do know that Maguire and Varane are both out, so Bailly and Lindelof will be at the back. A lot of fans concerned about that. So what is your prediction for the big one?
I'm going to have to, and be honest, I'm going to put my heart away and go in my head, and I'm going to have to go with a Chelsea win. I'm going to have to definitely go with a Chelsea win.
OK, Chelsea then to get the job done. Let's go back a bit though, and we'll start off with the games in the Premier League on Saturday. And at 12:30, it's the early kickoff, of course, Arsenal taking on Newcastle. Paul, 5th versus bottom going into the weekend. Arsenal go level on points, so West Ham in 4th if they get the win. And they're against the Newcastle side who are still searching for their first win. And Eddie Howe looks like he might not be back from his isolation as well. So how do you see this one?
I think I can only see it one way. As much as anything, we went through the process again of Arsenal. Everything's going in the right directions. They've been over that hiccup. It's all downhill from here. They've moved forward. They go to Anfield, and fortunately enough, they only come away only been beaten 4-0 for them. So they've come back again, starting again at the Emirates, and they're against Newcastle. It's a home win.
OK.
Newcastle will just go there and just defend. The change of manager can't make much difference because the players are just not good enough. The manager not being there wouldn't, in my opinion, make a lot of difference anyway, to be perfectly honest. I think if you're a Newcastle fan, you can understand it, but you're disappointed because you would have wanted to maybe seen someone different in your dugout. But I don't know where Eddie Howe was, but he definitely wasn't in the first 5.
OK. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, 3 o'clock kickoff. It's Vieira versus Gerrard. Make him feel old in the dugouts, Paul.
It's a fantastic match-up. 2 great midfield players. I mean, people have their opinions about the way they played, but I wouldn't want to try and split them apart just for the fact of what Vieira won at Arsenal, the way he played, how he led a team as well. That, you know, not that Steven Gerrard didn't. He led Liverpool through some terrible times, and he was a shining light for him. But when it comes at the moment, Vieira has done an incredible job. A team that I thought would be fighting relegation, they're a team at this moment in time, I don't know where they're going to finish, how high they're going to finish, because they're not going to get relegated. They're going to be well away from relegation. I look at it, Villa done well in the first game. It must have been a big high at Villa Park, but I'm looking at a Palace at home. Everything says to me a Palace win.
Yeah, just 1 loss in 10, and that was away to a Liverpool side, so brilliant from them so far. Also 3 o'clock, it is Liverpool at home against Southampton, and Anfield is a bit of a fortress again, isn't it? 15 unbeaten now after the fans have come back in. They had that spell during COVID when they lost a few at home, but now it seems to be a really tough place to go again.
We talk about teams that struggled, you know, with no fans, and everyone went through, but Liverpool struggle more than most because they need it, because they make it into such use this word loosely or whatever, it's a horrible place to go and play football. And it gets even more horrible if you're a Manchester United player.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to go and play. As we saw the game against Arsenal, Arteta really didn't help his... you're on about keeping the fans quiet, just keep them quiet. And as a manager, you go out and you decide to have a rage and have a go at their manager. And all of a sudden, he goes and does that and bang, bang, the game's over. Simple as that. So what you try and do is keep them quiet. Don't try not to give a lot away. Southampton aren't going to be able to do that, to be perfectly honest. This could be another 3 or 4 again, just in that way. They need to get as many wins in as possible, try and keep it going until such time it comes to January and they lose their key players.
Yeah, they're low on confidence, of course, after that loss against Norwich last week. And moving on to Norwich, they take on Wolves at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Back-to-back wins for the Canaries under 2 different managers.
Yeah, is that another stat they're going to throw up somewhere as well now? Another new stat. But then Norwich could be going for an incredible stat. Well, now going for 3 wins on the bounce, in theory, which is incredible for Norwich in the Premier League. I really don't see it happening. I was at Wolverhampton v West Ham last weekend, and except for the first 15 minutes, Wolves weren't good. It was maybe a little bit more about West Ham, but after that, Wolves just took over. They were really, really good, I must say. Really good going forward. Jimenez is definitely finding his feet now, and I can just see this only going one way. I can see Wolves winning this. Wolves going there and getting beaten by Norwich will take away a lot of the good work they've done in recent weeks.
5 wins in the last 7 for Wolves now. They are the clear favourites. So let's move on to the 5:30 kick-off on Saturday. Brighton taking on Leeds. Now, Brighton the clear favourites. They started the season really well, Paul, but no win in 8 in all competitions and a loss against Villa last week.
I know, that surprised me because I really thought they was going to go there and ruin Steven Gerrard's day, to be perfectly honest. It didn't happen. I haven't really found out much about it, really. Was it typical Brighton, a lot of the ball and not taking chances, or just the fact Villa were just all over him? I really don't know. But I look at this one, Leeds just don't win away from home, really, do they? I thought they were going to do it against Tottenham. For them to win away and to win the game in London, Leeds would have been incredible. They just don't like London.
Only beat Norwich and Watford all season.
Yeah, so you got to look at it and you got to say, as much as I like what Leeds do in a certain way, I like the way they try and play. And I saw Calvin Phillips play centre half, and he played really well against Spurs. I must say, Harry Kane isn't going to want to see him in the next squad meeting because he's got a right to have a go at him, by the way, because he had him in his pocket. I would just have to say that Brighton are going to win this one. Not by a lot of goals. That's going to be rare, them scoring a lot of goals, but they'll win this game against Leeds. OK, let's move on to Sunday. I haven't got much more time. We've got 5 games on Sunday, though, to look through. Brentford against Everton, first of all. Brentford the favourites, but winless in 5. Yeah, they are, but I just see something about them still. They've hit a really bad patch when they started fantastic. And I just looked at them and I thought to myself, they can't go down. Seen them in the Championship, I thought they've got enough about them. They've hit a bad patch, which you expect. It's a learning process for a side that's come up, but they've got enough fire in their bellies, especially at home, to go and beat Everton, who have been quite poor. It hasn't gone their way. They're only shining light at the moment over almost every game this season. There's been Andres Townsend, really. He's been fantastic for them, but they're missing Calvert-Lewin at this moment. They're really, really missing him, and it's showing.
OK, so it would be a Brentford win for you?
Yeah, Brentford win, yes.
OK, also at 2 o'clock on Sunday, it is Burnley taking on Tottenham. Tottenham are the favourites under Antonio Conte. Got that first win, as you mentioned, against Leeds. The Clarets are proving hard to beat now, once again, though. They've only lost 1 of the last 7 in the league, and that was against City. Yeah,
this is such a tough one to call because I'm a big fan of Conte. I really like the way he manages and how he can turn around individual and teams to get them working hard. And if they don't work hard as individuals, they're gone. It's as simple as that. They make their mind up exactly what they want in life, to be an outcast or to play football regularly. And that's what he does. But it's Burnley, and there's something about Burnley where you just can't write them off just because they're Burnley. They play with a lot of heart. The manager loves his job. He obviously loves that football club, and he loves the players that play for him, I should say. I'm going to say a surprise winner. I'm going to go for Burnley maybe to win this game against Spurs, just to give them another jolt.
Yeah, that'd be a nice price. Let's move on to Leicester. They're taking on Watford as well. Claudio Ranieri, of course, going back to the King Power. That'll be great to see. The Foxes are odds on, but they need to bounce back winless in 4 in all competitions. And, of course, Watford are on a high after that massive win against United last week. Yeah, we saw him have a massive win against Everton as well, away from home. True.
And they got well beaten, didn't they, after that as well. So this could be another one. I mean, Liverpool, they took a strumming against Liverpool as well, didn't they? This one is because of Leicester as well. Leicester have been so poor. Brendan Rodgers doesn't need this, by the way, especially after his comment about the fans after the game as well, about booing. That didn't really go down well. That's not clever to come out and say something like that after something like that. So I've got to go with Leicester to win this. I just cannot see Leicester losing this game, because this would be seriously embarrassing for Leicester City if they were to lose this, and Ranieri would love to go there and win.
OK, penultimate game of the weekend is Manchester City taking on West Ham. City obviously the favourites, big win in midweek against PSG. They did lose to the Hammers in the AFL Cup, you may remember that, on penalties. So West Ham have had this great season, have they? Wins over Liverpool, City, Spurs, United. Can they provide another big shock here?
I think they will go and have a go. I was at the League Cup game when they played, and City were decent, had a decent team out, and first half or so they had typical Man City, but West Ham really went at them. They come out of it, and I think they just deserved it in the end, and the way they come out of it. This will be different on the back of what they've done. What a great way for City to go into a game of football off the back of that performance last night. West Ham, after 15 minutes, mentally they were gone. They were gone in their heads. Everything would come around and everything was coming out. Antonio had been flowing back, 100 grand they cost to get him back, as quick as possible. And it seemed like he got his air legs on after 20 minutes. I can see that, it's going to be for the first time, second defeat on the bounce for West Ham I can see in this game. OK, home win. And of course the final game is a home win for Chelsea against Manchester United on 4:30. Right, that wraps it up then for the Premier League. What would be the best bet? Have you got a few you fancy? Well, I'm going to try for a treble. I'm going to look at Arsenal to win. And my second one was, I was looking at, what's the 3 o'clock game? Is it Norwich?
Palace,
sorry, I forgot. Palace, yeah, sorry. Crystal Palace to win. And then the third one was Brighton to win. OK, that'd be a big price. Yeah, I think that is not bad. I could really try and throw, if I wanted to maybe take out Brighton and go with Burnley, but that one's a little bit more edgy. I think the Brighton one, there's more with Brighton than what there is with Burnley. Yeah. They see it 6-1 for the treble. Paul, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. It's been a tumultuous week, hasn't it, of the last 7 days, with lots going on at Manchester United in particular. And we will see if there's any more before they kick off in that big game against Chelsea. That's the one we're all looking forward to, of course, but it gets underway Saturday, 12:30 with the Arsenal. Thanks to Paul once again. Thanks for watching. Get your bets on, and we'll see you soon.